Check, 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 check.
Deze werkt niet.
Oh, hoe kan dat nu? Wacht. Slides. Filming. Ah, voilà. Sinds gebeurt gewoon eens resetten, ja. Alright. All right, everyone. Thanks for being here on the October edition of UX Beers. We hope you were already able to have some beers, to already have some taste of what our chef can cook. And tonight, we want to present you some more interesting speakers, some engaging topics to fill the night. So, but before we go into that, something I always like to ask, who is here for the first time on UX Beers? Quite a lot, so that's nice. That's nice. So before we go into the actual content, I'm first gonna present our to you. So what is UX Beers? What are we about? We are a talk and networking organization made for and made by UX and product people. So what we try to do is create a space where we can have engaging discussions, where we can talk about our field, and we can connect in order to grow professionals together. So we've been doing this already for a long time. So we've been active since 2011, and so what grew out from an initial ID in a bar already grew out to an organization of now exactly 4,250 members strong. And keep growing. What this growth also meant is that we already branched out to have two chapters. So not only are we now hosting in Antwerp, but we also already got a chapter in Brussels. So there you can also expect to find us to be hosting with all the Brussels client and the Brussels people every quarter, somewhere around that. In Antwerp, we're a bit more often. And so maybe there's two big ingredients that make for a great evening with us. The first one is having great speakers. So I'm absolutely convinced that every one of you has some amazing professional experience that they would share, some interesting story that happened in the work, or just something that happened around UX that the crowd would be dying to know. And so with us, you can do that. You can share it with a group of people. And we're always looking to help you with that. We're always open to hear from you what kind of talks you want to do and to give you the space in all of our hosting events. So it doesn't matter what you're talking about as long as it's remotely has to do with you. And it doesn't matter what job you do, what experience you have, everyone is welcome to try to get on the stage and take the leap. So, and while we're filled for this year, we're still, we still have a lot of slots for 2025. So if you feel like doing it, feel free to hit us up. The second big part is, of course, none of this would be possible without the amazing help from hosts like IO tonight. And that's why we're also always looking to partner with agencies and companies with great UX practices, which try to advance our field in Belgium. And so, yeah, so this is also a call to you. So if you feel like we could do an event together, you feel like it could be a great collaboration, feel free to hit us up. We're always looking to expand our horizons. And Yeah, we do that. Yeah, we're still looking for 2025, and if you're based in Antwerp, in Mechelen or Brussels, we would be happy to have a chat. Then, of course, we hope you have a great evening discussion. Why we also have a Slack channel where you can, when you have some question, when you are looking for a job, when you are next, and or where you just want to laugh about. Our Slack channel has got it all. So if you're not yet, be sure to scan the QR code and join the conversation. So we're all there as well. So today, for me, it's a very special occasion because I'm not just representing UX, I'm also representing the company I'm working for, IO. So, and what I want to tell about what you should absolutely know, IO is the blended agency, not just in Belgium, but also in European countries. We're blended a lot of different talents in different disciplines, whether it's branding, whether it is copy, whether it's UX or technical capabilities. IO has got it all, and it mixes it up so that we can truly deliver the best digital customer experience for all of our clients. And we're working for quite a lot of, from the big telecoms to even the government, and so it's on a mission to create great digital experience. Also, feel what is needed for doing these big missions is that we need some great talents to join us. And that's also we are currently always on the lookout. Currently, we're particularly looking for project managers, also for. So if you're always welcome to have a look on our site. If there are you're looking for a challenge, we're always happy to meet more people like you. So a short note, IO. Then before we go, there's one thing I want to cover, and that is some parties that make all of this possible. The first one is create this could be any creative. So whether you're writing copy, whether you're writing code, whether you're creating amazing visuals, like the creative skills has the right jobs for you. So if your is overwhelming at all and you're on the lookout, be sure to have a look at the skills. The second sponsor of us, so Ariad is of the lead staff to digital. One lead is by having that they do. Not only do they look to creating happy clients, they really want to make sure to find a mission for their people in which they can really thrive. So they are always looking and they're always open to accept anyone who is looking to have be sure to hit up. So, and with that, we keep of tonight. So we have some amazing and varied topics coming up. First, start our own IO's Inti coming to talk to us about the design he did for Kate in his talk, The Evolution of Conversational Design from second special speaker. He traveled all the way to be with us welcome who is here to talk about how to better the problem increment. So that's it all for me. So I talked long enough. So with that, I want to pass the word to Inti. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yes. Let me get the setup right first. Okay. Let me test if this works. Yes. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for being here today in such great numbers. It's really nice to see. Um, my name is actually Inti Valderas Caro, so it was written wrongly on the slide to introduce me, but that's fine. You can see my name here on the bottom. All right, so my name is Inti. I'm really excited to be talking today about something that's been changing the way that we interact with technology for a couple of years now. And through the consultancy team of IO, I've had the opportunity to work at KBC, the bank here in Belgium, for the past 2 years now. And that's me being very excited at KBC. But honestly, it's a great place to work at. But during that period at KBC, I've worked closely on Kate, which is their AI assistant. And I've explored the transition from traditional chatbots, like the Google Assistant, Siri, and thus Kate, to large language models, or in short, LLMs. And today, I want to take you on a journey that covers how conversational AI has evolved from these traditional chatbots and how we can transition to the new technology like LLMs. But while doing so, I also want to look at the challenges that we've encountered while doing so, and the opportunities that I personally see ahead for designers as well within this space. But just by a quick show of hands, how many of you have interacted with a chatbot that left you feeling frustrated? Yes, that's what I thought. So that's quite a few of you, which is definitely not surprising. But we're going to discuss why these frustrations happen as well, can improve them, and what lies ahead for AI or LLMs in terms of truly understanding these human interactions. But before we dive deeper into the whole chatbots landscape and the large language models, I just want to share the foundational principle of conversation design. So what makes a good conversation? That's a very philosophical question, right? Luckily, there's a philosopher called Paul Grice, who came up with like these 4 rules that are at the core of effective conversations. And this principle helps us understand what makes human communication smooth and productive. And understanding this is just crucial to have conversations that feel natural and intuitive. And the cooperative principle consists of 4 rules: quantity, quality, relation, and manner. And the quantity is about providing just the right amount of information. Not too much, not too little either. Just imagine if someone gave you like an overwhelming amount of information when all you needed was just a simple answer. So for example, what time does UX beer start? A good example is doors open at 6, but talks start at 7. A bad example could be like, yeah, this whole explanation, you can have drinks and snacks from 6 p.m. until 7, but we usually don't start until everyone arrives, which then can take a while depending on who's running late, and so on and so on. That's just a bad example. That's not a great response. Then we have quality. Quality, oops. Quality is everything. It's just about truthfulness. So everything that someone says must be accurate, and it must be supported by evidence. People need to trust the information that they are given, and if a conversation provides just incorrect information, it just breaks trust and it makes the interaction feel unreliable. So, for example, have you heard Pedro Inti is speaking at UX Beers? A good example is yes, I saw the announcement on LinkedIn, and he's listed as a speaker. It's supported by evidence, and so on. A bad example is, yeah, I think he might be coming, but I'm not really sure. I think I overheard someone mentioning it. It doesn't sound very truthful. And then we have relation. And this has its relevance. The responses provided by someone should be directly related to what the other person is saying or asking. And if you give unrelated information, it just derails the whole flow of the conversation. So staying on topic is essential for keeping the interaction efficient and effective. And lastly, we have manner, which focuses on clarity. People must communicate in a way that's easy to understand, avoiding like this complex language or jargon that could confuse someone, which is very hard at KBC, by the way, because we have a lot of legal words that we have to take into account. But we should also stay concise and provide information in just a straightforward way without unnecessary elaboration. So when designing conversations, we must ensure that our chatbots follow these 4 rules to avoid confusion or frustration and create a more natural and intuitive user experience. Now let's move on to what we call confirmation techniques. And one of the biggest challenges in conversational AI is understanding user input accurately. And humans are nuanced, and language is filled with like these ambiguities, which makes it tricky for a system or an AI to fully understand what we mean. And this is where these confirmation techniques come into play. There are basically 2 types of confirmation techniques that we can use, which is implicit and explicit confirmation. Implicit confirmation just subtly confirms what the user said without directly asking for confirmation. For example, if a user says, "Remind me to call the doctor tomorrow," we could respond with, "Sure, I'll set a reminder to call the doctor tomorrow." Explicit confirmation, on the other hand, just directly asks the user for confirmation. Just to confirm, would you like me to set a reminder to call the doctor tomorrow? And these techniques help us ensure accuracy. But knowing when to use each one is very important. And this brings us to what we call confidence detection. It's a technical aspect of chatbots, but it's basically how the AI determines the likelihood that it had understood the user correctly, and how it informs our decision to use either implicit or explicit confirmation. Basically, it just returns a percentage of how well it understood the user. And when the system is highly confident, the chatbot is highly confident, we can proceed with the implicit confirmation, which keeps the conversation flowing smoothly without asking unnecessary questions, right? But if the confidence level is moderate, we want to ask the explicit confirmation. If the confidence is low, we definitely have to re-ask the user to rephrase their input or their intent. And with this confidence detection in mind, let's now explore another key concept that helps guide the user through their interaction with a chatbot, which are conversation markers. Imagine on a website, we often see like these types of feedback that help users understand where they are, like breadcrumbs or highlighted menu items, right? And conversational interfaces don't always have the luxury of this visual feedback. And this is why we use conversational markers. And conversation markers are, they just help the flow and progress of the interaction. And these are some of the examples, right? So we have timeline markers like this, which is a timeline. So words like first, halfway there, finally, they give the user a sense of progress, right? But we also have acknowledgements and positive feedback, which are very important as well in a conversation. Acknowledgements like thanks, got it, all right, sorry to hear about that. They just let users know that their input has been received and understood, while positive feedback just help build a positive interaction with users as well. And it's important to use these conversation markers that are appropriate for your product's persona. And even the most formal systems, for example, a chatbot for a financial institution, can benefit from these markers to create a more natural interaction. And even when users know that they are talking to a machine, they still appreciate this human aspect, the basics of human conversation. And by using these conversational markers, we can make our conversations feel more intuitive and engaging. But now that we've covered like these foundational elements of conversation design, I want to move on how these traditional chatbots like the Google Assistant, like Siri, or Kate are structured and what their challenges are. So most chatbots today use an intent and entity structure to understand user requests, which is basically this. Intent refers to the purpose or goal behind the user's input. Essentially, what the user wants to achieve. For example, if a user says, I want to transfer money, the intent is to perform a money transfer, right? And intent recognition is crucial for determining the action that the chatbot should take. And then we have entities. Entities are specific pieces of information within a user input that provides context and details. And in the example, I want to transfer money to my savings account. The entity includes the destination, which is a savings account. And entities help the chatbot understand parameters necessary to fulfill a certain intent. And this intent and entity structure works well for straightforward scenarios where user requests are simple and predictable. However, real conversations are rarely that simple. Users often provide multiple intents, for example, in one sentence, or use ambiguous language, just use one word, for example, like this whole Google behavior, which makes it challenging for traditional chatbots to handle these interactions effectively. So to illustrate the challenges of traditional chatbots, imagine a user types, "Hi, I just had a baby." And the chatbot responds with, "Congratulations, would you like to open a savings account for your little one?" This is actually an example that we have. But because we detected baby as an entity, we the system classifies it as child, and we know that we have certain products for children as well. And it just seems perfect for this happy moment, right? But let me flip this scenario, which is actually pretty harsh, but what if someone says, "My child just passed away"? This response would just be hurtful, and it highlights a major limitation of the traditional chatbots. They just cannot adapt to emotional context. We actually had a similar incident like this at Kate. We did retrain our model, of course, to detect the whole passed away part to avoid this in the future. But it's a heartbreaking scenario where this enthusiastic response would just be completely inappropriate and potentially very hurtful as well. And as a conversation designer, it's just impossible to predict every user's context. And the limits of intent and entity bots become very clear here. As a conversation designer, we can take into account to write more neutral, for example, but that takes away the personality of your chatbot as well. But yeah, as you can see, these bots just rely on these predefined responses and simple rules, which make them rigid and unable to adapt dynamically to different emotional contexts. I want to talk about the strengths and the weaknesses, right? So the traditional chatbots still do have some strengths. They are good at providing consistent responses and maintaining control of information that is presented, which makes them reliable for straightforward and predictable interactions. However, we also have notable limitations, as we have just seen. They struggle with longer and complex inputs. They cannot understand sentiment very well. And yeah, they're just good at sticking to a script, but they fall short in understanding nuanced emotional cues or unpredictable user behavior. So building on the challenges of traditional intent and entity bots, these large language models like GPT entered the scene in 2022. They completely transformed the whole chatbot landscape. 2022 was also the year I started at KBC. So I just saw what happened. And our users saw it as well. They saw what AI could do now. More dynamic conversations, context awareness, sentiment understanding, and the users' expectations just shifted dramatically. But unlike traditional bots, these LLMs are trained on vast amount of data, which allows them to understand and generate responses as well in a more natural and human-like way. They can handle more complex queries, recognize different tones, they can provide more contextually relevant answers, but they have their limitations or their challenges as well. For example, these LLMs can hallucinate. They can just make up things that aren't true. And controlling the output of this can be difficult. It's quite hard. And this unpredictability can be a major drawback, essentially in sensitive domains like finance, where this accuracy is very important. It's crucial. So how can we leverage the strengths of both traditional bots and the LLMs to create better user experiences? And that brings us to a hybrid approach. So in a hybrid model, we combine the best of both worlds, basically. Imagine using an LLM to rephrase the user input so the traditional bot can understand the user better. For example, if a user says, I need to send some cash to my friend, but I'm not sure how, this is already quite a long sentence for a traditional bot to understand. The LLM could rephrase it in the background as, how do I transfer money? Which is way clearer for the traditional bot to understand. And then a traditional bot can just step in to handle the whole structured transaction process. Another powerful use of LLMs is to adjust responses to match the user's emotional tone. For example, if a user says, I'm feeling frustrated because I cannot find my recent transactions, the LLM can adjust the response to be more empathetic, such as I understand how frustrating that can be. Let me help you find your recent transactions right away. Whereas a traditional response would be, you can find your transaction history here, and then just a button. And this way, LLM can add personalization, natural language understanding, and emotional intelligence to your bot as well. While the traditional bot, the whole logic rule-based system, still ensures the accuracy and compliance that we still have to look at as well. And this is a special example that I'm showing you. This is what we call a hybrid answer, which is basically one bubble within a conversation that we generate, while all the rest stays traditional. So normally, for the question, what does It's Me do? A traditional or our traditional bot would say something like, you can find more information about It's Me on our website. We have a button to the website, and then they leave Kate, and who knows if they will come back, right? The user still has to look up the information themselves. But now, with these LLMs, we can find or retrieve information from web pages and implement them in our bot as well. So we can provide an answer in our conversation, and we can still keep the whole rigid part to keep control of the conversation, which we do at the bottom. So this is what we call a hybrid answer. And these ideas are quite exciting, if I say so myself, but making them real wasn't easy. So I was working on these integrations, and we had like these engineers and myself building things simultaneously while business was pushing very hard to get this out there because we wanted to be the first. It's just exciting new technology and everyone wanted to gold rush, right? But to be honest, none of us really knew how this would play out, and we were learning as we went. But it did highlight the importance of collaboration and communication between the engineers and the designers. We had to work hand in hand, continuously iterating and refining our approaches. And the challenge was not just technical, it was also about understanding each other's perspectives, what was feasible from an engineering standpoint, and what was necessary to create a good user experience. And on top of that, we also had to consider like these emerging AI regulations from the EU, which definitely added another layer of complexity in terms of user experience. But we've been focused so hard on how people interact with these models to solve problems in fresh and in innovative ways. But we were missing a crucial piece, which I can see in hindsight. We were mostly focused on the interface, right? How people would use the models. But we weren't digging into the core of the models themselves. And this core holds a key piece to a truly user-friendly and responsible future as well. And now I want to give this insights into what I see happening within the design space for the future in designing these AI systems. All right, no worries. All right, I'll eat the microphone. Yeah, I was saying that we were missing a crucial piece because we were mostly focused on creating the interface and the way that we interact with this AI system. But we were actually not looking enough at the models themselves, how they would behave, basically. And this actually holds, according to me, holds a key piece to a truly user-friendly and responsible future. So I want to dive into that a little bit deeper. It was not just me who saw this shift. I came across an article by Paz Perez on Medium, and she talks about a new role that I think will be crucial for us in the future, which is the model designer. And unlike traditional UX designers, these types of specialists will work closely with the core AI models and not just the interfaces. And the model designer role, which is not like this type of model, but this type of model, will reduce issues like bias and hallucinations, right? Or at least we can try to. We will collaborate more efficiently with engineers more closely. And prompting is going to be a big part of it because it can be challenging for users to define a certain prompt and get a certain result from a large language model, right? So it's up to designers to create like these smarter default prompts or preambles or even fine-tuned data sets to reduce the user's effort and improve the user experience. For instance, a model designer might work on crafting specific prompts that guide the model's behavior, while UX designers can focus on the user-facing aspects, such as making the interaction intuitive and engaging. Just by working together, they can ensure that the AI not only performs well, but also delivers this positive user experience. And this kind of deep collaboration is what will set apart successful AI products from those that fall short. Model designer will require some basic technical knowledge, but to be honest, every designer kind of needs that. But instead of having a basic understanding of how HTML works or CSS works or how we can pull data into a front end or which data is available, model designers will need a basic understanding of how RAGs work, retrieval augmented generation, how we can look up data in certain data sets, how we set up that data in a way that can be efficiently translated to what we call space in order to, yeah, for an LLM to understand it best. We will also need to learn prompting. There are a lot of different techniques like zero-shot prompting, chain of thought prompting, tree of thought, few-shot prompting, and each of these techniques, they come up with certain scenarios. We will also have to have a basic knowledge of Python to manage your prompts. For example, in this templating language called Jinja 2. I'm not sure why it's called Jinja 2, but it's a way to manage your prompts as well in Python. Going deeper into this is a whole new talk. But if you're interested in knowing more, I suggest you take a picture of this if you haven't already, so you can dive into it at home by Googling all these keywords. Cool. That was the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. I did gather some useful information that I talked about in my talk on a Notion page, so feel free to scan the QR code. If you have any more questions, don't hesitate to talk to me later. But I first have a request. I want to take a Be Real because I want to show my mom that I spoke to all these people. So if you all want to pose real quick, put your hands in the air or something like that. 3, 2, 1. Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you very much, Inti. It was an amazing talk. There's not enough people who are talking about this, so thank you very much. I want to ask, do you have any questions left for Inti? Any burning thoughts on your mind? Yes.
I've been hiding in the bush, but I'm here. I find it interesting that you said, well, at first you were working mostly on the interface and part of things, and then you found out, well, we should maybe work more on the model design. And I probably agree. I mean, I don't know that much about it, but there's a hunch I have that the chatbot interface still won't be the final interface for most solutions, because it's a white canvas, and I think it's still pretty difficult to use in a lot of situations. Is there at KBC or in general, as you have been working on this, a vision or a thought experiment about the interfaces of the future using AI, that maybe using more traditional elements with those LLMs together to guide users better or whatever? Is there anything happening in that regards on the interface level?
Yes, we do bump into the limitations, definitely, of our interface of Kate. So, of course, we are looking into what Kate could look like in the future or behave like in the future. And yeah, we're still exploring all the different possibilities on how we can integrate this new AI technology, like the LLMs, in our processes, and especially customer facing. But we're still learning, like everyone else is. But yeah, we did notice that we bump into our current interface limitations. If that answers your question, I'm not sure. I hope no more chat bubbles. That's where I hope we will go. But of course, Kate is an assistant, and we still do believe in the whole conversational aspect of it. So, yeah.
Any more questions? Yes. Let's see who was first. Yeah.
So for junior designers, would you recommend to learn more about coding and Python to stay more relevant in the market? As now there's a lot of senior positions available in the market, but not so much for juniors. And what I've read about that the UX engineer is the new emerging role, and like, what's your take on it? And if so, what resources would you recommend?
I wouldn't recommend by starting with learning Python. You will learn that as you will go. I feel like what will become very important is the prompting, especially if you want to dive into creating these models. Prompting is going to be a big part of it. Try to do some research on, for example, each time you send like a chat to ChatGPT, what the whole prompt behind that is. It's like 70 pages that they're sending along with your one-liner in ChatGPT that they're sending along to the large language model. So prompting is going to be very important in the future to guide these models. So I would definitely focus on that if you want to go further in that space and not go to Python in this early stage because that is more advanced. Just start at the beginning, which is prompting, and then you can move over to Python. Does that answer your question? Okay.
I saw there was someone there, yes.
So you talked about the challenges with conversational design, the tree structure, analyzing the input, and having limited output. And now we are changing to the model of large language models. You started off with using large language models to interpret the input and still keep the output from the conversational design. And I'm wondering, like, is there any risk or maybe salvation in using the large language model to actually increase the tree structure of your conversational design? And like having those two work together, like, is there any risk involved there or maybe some salvation? And I'm mostly asking this question because I'm working for a government agency, and we are required to have an answer to any question. Why are you recommending this to me? Why are you giving me this feedback? And so we really need to know from A to Z how any decision is made, even in an AI configuration.
Where to start? I think it all starts with what the user is asking and understanding what their intention is. What are they actually looking for, or what are they trying to do? So that is what those traditional chatbots are still very good at, and maintaining, like, if you want to guide them to certain aspects, I think that traditional approach is still quite useful. But if you have like these, you also have like these vast amounts of data probably at the government of all these types of questions, which is very hard because if you are going to translate that or index that, it might start mixing things up and start just wrong answers. And that is something that is very challenging as well. We are struggling with it as well. So we want to like scope down first and try to identify the most asked questions and try to focus on that. And then based by using intent and entity structures, we can try to narrow down and guide the LLM to focus on specific topics and very specific questions. But it's something that we're struggling with as well. Especially also in a startup that I'm involved with, we're struggling with that same problem. So yeah, I'm not able to really give an answer to it at this moment.
Maybe one last question from the break. There was someone there. Yes.
Hey. So you talked about conversational design, and so when the more conversational a chat gets, the more human-like it gets, the more convincing it is, and this is the way I see it, the greater the risk of when it gets something wrong, when a bias tensor happens, and so forth. So do you see this as a risk? And if so, how do you deal with this? That was it.
Yeah, that's one of the core principles of the cooperative principle. So we have quality, which is all about truthfulness. It's very important to provide this truth, the true information. And like the large language models, it's very hard to control what their output is. So yes, it's definitely a risk, not just in terms of user experience, but also, for example, at KBC, it's a huge risk if we start giving them wrong directions or maybe even advice. That's just a big no-no. So what we're doing right now is we're focusing on all the informative questions. So, for example, what does It's Me do, or how do I install it? It's just a very specific task that's been very well documented on our website as well. So we try to scope it down to just the informative questions and not really like advice or these other types. So yeah, it's very important to take into account again what is the intent of the user, what does the user want to achieve, and whether or not having a large language model generating an answer for it, how big is it? And of course at KBC we have these whole departments who help us with it, these whole legal departments. But yeah, it's definitely a risk in terms of Google, in terms of user experience, but also in compliance.
All right. So that brings us to our break. So Inti, thank you so much for your presentation. You deserve this as a token of our work. So now there's 30 minutes. You can have a drink where you can talk it a little bit over. If you have any more questions for Inti, you can always chat them up. And we'll see you back at 8:05. Thank you. right. This brings us to the second topic of the night. And this is going to be brought to you by Benjamin Lipinski. So UX Belgium is going to go a bit international today. We have someone from Germany who's living in Amsterdam. He's a UX lead at ePilot, and as I said, he's going to talk to us all about identifying problems. So, Benjamin, the floor is yours.
Thank you. First, thank you for the opportunity for the slot to share our an approach or a method we're doing. I think it's for me extremely exciting journey over the last couple of years, and this is now our attempt to share these learnings. And also, I'm probably going to do a conference presentation of this next year. So I'm really looking forward to all of your feedback, and if what we were doing is actually insightful, interesting, or totally standard practice, and we were just living behind a rock for a while, which can totally be as well. So I want to share our journey, how we identify user problems 10 times better, and we're doing this by triangulating research methods. So the direct outcomes first of that method that I'm sharing today, is first we have an insane amount of shipped product improvements that we are shipping year by year because of that method. So it's just it enables us to bring new cool things to life. We have completely redesigned one product area because of what we learned in the method. We shifted the development of one product area from an offshore development team to a Central Europe-based team because we learned that this is actually super relevant and one of the core tasks of our users. We measurably improved the user satisfaction, and this resulted in really cool MRR growth, so monthly recurring revenue, kind of important for us. Yeah, and I have way less annoying internal discussions with stakeholders who are not designers. Last, there are a couple of boom headache moments per quarter, and really a lot of excitement about research in our organization because of that. So, how did that happen? Before I tell you, I want to give you a bit of context about the world I'm living in, what I'm doing. So, I'm leading design in a vertical SaaS product for the energy transition. We have a product team of about 40 developers, 8 product managers, and 7 digital product designers with 2 researchers that grew from 1 designer to that size in the last 2.5, 3 years. And we have a digital platform as a product. So what you see in yellow are all the systems that are serving as a digital workplace for agents in the energy industry, or for actors in the industry. They are working in these yellow areas about 30 hours per week. Then we have the blue areas. The blue area are the configuration systems. So these enable we call them configuring users to completely no code configure the which is in the energy transition kind of relevant because that means we don't need all these consultants in between that just make projects longer and more. And in the end, we have the end user who is on our platform buying energy products, upgrading existing energy products, or requesting services. Side note: nothing against consultancies, makes totally sense in certain settings. In the energy industry, there's just, in the energy transition right now, there's just such a pressure on time that it's way better if it's done than if it's perfect. So yeah, it's really about enabling organizations. So in order to build the system, I thought when I joined the organization, such a large platform, such a big scope, we really need to make data and research-driven decisions. Today I think a bit differently. I think we need data-informed decisions and research-informed decisions. It's not all, it's not all that. What else is it? What else do we need to make fast product and design decisions? Well, it's a combination. So first we have market and business understanding, and then we have craftsmanship and intuition. If one of these occur in an organization, we saw that we make scary product decisions. Making only because of market and business understanding, scary. Only craftsmanship and intuition, also scary. If we combine those two, we get risky product decisions, which can be totally okay. But solid product decisions are often way better. And these we get solid product decisions if we throw triangulated user research into the mix, or we give and then risky ones again if we combine the user research part with one of the other spheres. So this is kind of the framework behind it. And in today's topic is going to be the triangulated user research sphere. So it's not only about that, but it's damn important, in my opinion, to build a great product. So now let's really dive into the methodology. We're calling it triangulating research methods for enhanced user understanding. Who hears that and thinks like, yeah, totally clear, makes sense? Okay, yeah, so there are a few full-on research specialists in the room who works like 50% plus of their time on user research. Lol, it's the same amount of same group of people plus one. So we know the research audience who is sometimes engaging with research. Okay, a lot, cool. So that means that I will, in the following, hopefully 14 minutes, first dive into first establish a shared understanding of user research in the room. Then I want to go through this case study of our methodology, and in the end, yeah, there's going to be a wrap up. So, whoop, that was too fast. Let's first take this statement apart. So, what are research methods, right? Research methods can be what users think, feel, and say. So in the head or in the belly. Huh? And this is what's like in the research lingo called attitudinal research. Then we have research methods that help us understand what users do. It's called behavioral. We have research methods that help us understand how many and how much problems we have. These are quantitative methods. And in the end, we have methods that help us understand why and how to fix something. Qualitative. We put all of that on a graph. Then attitudinal and behavioral are opposing each other. And qualitative and quantitative are opposing each other. And if we put that all together, we have a great map of user research methods which helps us understand which method to use in which case. So this is not my idea, by the way, but Christian Röder came up with that, great researcher. Yeah, what is our idea, or kind of new, is this graph, which shows how we are triangulating research methods for enhanced user understanding. So that means we're not taking like one method for one problem, but we're combining them in order to arrive at better outcomes. So I want to show you next how we are doing that in practice, how that looks like, which tools we're using, so end-to-end case. Yeah, how does this look in real life? So when we do research, we always have research objectives. These research objectives were for this case to understand which usability debt must be solved in the platform versus acceptable to keep in order to grow faster and focus more resources on building new stuff. The case study will focus on finding out what's most valuable from a user perspective in order to make solid product decisions. So remember the 3 circles from the beginning. We want to inform discovery and delivery prioritization on a roadmap for initiative that is called Efficiency in Daily Tasks in a resource-scarce organization. So we're competing with platforms like Salesforce and Microsoft Dynamics, but we are 100 people in total. So we need to do way more with way less. So like a super clear prioritization is way more important. And yeah, the efficiency in daily tasks focus area was to actually make users who are working daily in our platform more productive in their tasks. Yeah, and in the end we wanted to discover in that focus area also unknown unknowns. So what are the things that we don't know that we don't know? Getting to the ground of that. So we start with the user, right? Quelle surprise, segmenting users. But the cool thing here is that we did that in not only just creating personas based on qualitative research, that's the thing we all know, but we were then in our digital experience insights tool called Full Story, it's like behavioral analytics. We were able to figure out trackable criteria that define a user group, that define these personas, and then actually set up tracking for these different personas. So that meant that we not only had an understanding of the exact users, like the exact users per user group or per persona, but we also had an understanding of like how many are they, how do these user groups overlap, and what we see here are like the different user groups we have, and we see like on the side there's like buying, requesting users, which is like consumers in the end. So it's massive user group, but they are only like on this like very small part of the platform, on the green part in the beginning. But like all the others are on this like large part of the platform, yeah? Where we have, in theory, we have like more than 80 places we could optimize, hundreds of features. Yeah, how do we pick what's important? Huh? And like a great indicator, super early in the process, was this overview, because our salespeople and our customer success people, they mainly speak to configuring users, and the salespeople speak to managing users. So the requests of these people were always on the top. But the way bigger user group are the executing users, so the agents actually, and just no one heard them before, because the configuring users, so the managers, always said, yeah, but my reporting feature is way more important than the feature for the actual users. Yeah? So this gave us like, yeah, a great reason to prioritize the right things, and also helped us to really learn what they are. So we were then able to download these user sets and wrangle them and then visualize them. So we got this. So next, so now we know the user groups of the different product areas. Next, we were identifying core tasks for these product areas. So in a platform where a user can like complete like about 300 something tasks, which ones should we optimize? We took the executing user segment and the configuring user segment identified before, and sent them a task importance survey. In that survey, they were able to see all these platform tasks and then rank them from most important to least important for them. So they were like pulling in every task that's important and then ranking them. And then they got another page of the survey where they were able to to say which one works the best for them versus what works the worst for them. So we understand perceived importance of all the tasks. So with like classical user research, that would go to the product managers and be like, okay, here, go with it. When we triangulate user research, then we want something really solid that doesn't need like way more discussion, but that is a great indicator for prioritization. So we have a feature in our platform that allows configuring users to model workflows for the executing users, the workflow builder. And then the executing users like go in their daily work through these processes and yeah, just check tasks off, say they skipped something, said something was not necessary, add additional tasks that were needed in the context, yada, yada, yada. This is a great data set. So we took this data set and performed a keyword analysis of it. So that means that we take like every task apart into like the different things that it can mean. That's kind of related to how the LLM would do it. So there's like, can be like child or baby or like all the different categories, and they are mapped to a keyword scheme. Yeah, and then we can actually map these keywords to the tasks that were also in the task importance survey, and ta-da, we have a ranking of tasks that is not only grounded in perceived importance, but that is also grounded in frequency on the platform. So this is like how often are users doing it, how important do they find it, and then we can like on that check off like what's going well, what's not going well. Based on that, we have a clear set of priorities where we as like 40 people or like 50 like designers plus engineers can actually deliver value. But now we have the next problem. When did we succeed? Did it work? Did it actually help? Well, one thing would be to run the survey again and get all these users to invest like 30 to 50 minutes again of their time in doing that. Yeah, that alone doesn't work because you can't really repeat it often. With like a relatively small user group in a B2B product, you can't get that many survey results of a complex survey so often. Also, like other product areas, there's like other research we're running in parallel, so we can't make this the only surveys we're running. So we have like a way more condensed and a way faster, way leaner survey, which is our CES North Star metric, our CES, which is our North Star metric. Can I get hands for CES? Who wants an explanation? Yeah, it's the customer effort score. It's a standard methodology for understanding how much perceived effort a user has with a certain task. So we have all these tasks, and we have like a list of the tasks, and then like users rank them from 1 to 7, how much effort this task is for the users right now, and we have this per user group. So we really were able to, based on these segments, break it down and only send like shorter surveys to the right users. We also set it up in a way that users would on the first survey page answer like the general customer effort score ranking, and then only go into details. And like the survey is already submitted the first time after the first question, so we got like in like a couple of days like 200 replies, which is like completely fine for that. Also, there was an incentive for users. Yeah, then we're evaluating this survey, and we're seeing a certain score that a certain user group has an average on a task, and we're understanding the range, like from like how good to how bad the task is. And based on that, we can understand progress over time on these core tasks. We can understand the return on investment on the things that we build, and we can set realistic goals for us as a product organization. So we know that this CES, you can't change it overnight with like +1 or -1, but it's really like, it's small increments, and it's really like strategic prioritization also based on that. So we have this the set, so there you see like the scale. 2022 we were more like in the crying range of users. 2024 we are, like 2 years later, we moved the scale across like almost all of the core tasks, and like we have like this is the goal for like mid 2025, the pink line. So this really helps to align the entire organization as well, on what do we want to do, and like give people like this fixed idea of like where are we running. All right, so speaking about where are we running, now we have all these research insights about like where we want to go and like all these cool ideas, but how do we make this actionable? So for this, we took the CES survey data, so the replies, and we were able to there's this tool we're using where it's like super easy for every employee in the organization to filter them. Mainly like this is done by the researchers, designers, and product managers, but there's also some developers who are super interested in it, some salespeople who use it as a sales argument in their organizations. Hey, look at like your users. There were like 10 users from your organization who ranked it great. Like, do you want to scale it to a different department? So it's like this made like the research also a interdisciplinary tool. Side effect. But mainly we used it to then identify the email addresses of the users. And then from these email addresses, we were able to create a session playlist again in this tracking tool. So we have the survey, completely different tracking tool, but we were like through the email addresses of the users, we are able to make the connect. And then with like this digital experience insights tool, it's retrofitting the changes in the DOM to actually create videos of user sessions. So we can, without like a crazy cookie load that makes the site super slow, we can get session recordings of users. Who has ever worked with session recordings? Okay, a few who haven't, so I'll quickly explain a bit more in detail what they are. So these recordings are not like videos, but they are actually like a lot of code put together into a video. So that means that you can't only watch the videos as a human, but you can also query the tool for, hey, give me all sessions of this specific flow that occurred in the executing users segment within this specific time, but only for users who used this page before and this page after. So we're getting like a super specific set of, or we can get like a super specific set of user sessions to watch. This is basically in our organization. This changed so much because we don't need to do we need to do way less interviews and actual like qual user research anymore. But we can just fire out features, watch the first couple of users use it, identify improvements, ship them, watch the next throw 2 more organizations on it, watch them use it, iterate, and that way really continuously deploy until we have like a new feature or something that we can roll out to everyone. And with the CES insights, right, we were able to get this playlist together of the worst ranked and of the best ranked tasks. So we can see, we can like learn, we can fix mistakes, we can fix the problems, but we can also learn we were also able to learn what the top users did, who used it very well, and that way consult them. Our IT thinks it's a great idea to centrally manage how long the display can stay on. So then there are still some things that might be unclear here, or that were unclear. So we did interviews to understand what was unclear with those specific users. Again, 0 recruiting time for the users for research because we were just able to ask them. And so with the CES survey data, session recordings, interviews, we are like once a quarter delivering this board to as the design team to the wider organization that really like shows a lot of actionable insights. So it's informing the roadmap and prioritization. So we had these 4 steps. The last 2 we do once per quarter. Then we do the identify core task exercise whenever we feel like there's something majorly might have changed. Once a year, once every 2 years, something like that. And segmenting users, coming up with new user segments, well, whenever it's helpful. So now let's take a step back, get into bird's eye view again. So in the beginning you saw this map. Now it's filled. And what we see is that all these methods on there are not were not used separately for separate projects, but they all informed each other. They were connected in some way. And which effects has that triggered? Better prioritization via the platform tasks ranking from those two. Then from another two final methods, which were informed by another few, a better usable platform, including impact for the most relevant product. And in the end, like the user profiles also helped us to have a way better value understanding, so of the ROI. So what's the final effect of this? Was like we supported that way with design and research 100% growth year by year for the past 2 years in the organization. So this is also why the organization loves research, because they can see the direct impact of that on our growth. And also we had like recently a VC round, and they did the due diligence, and so they asked like many of our customers, hey, what's great about this platform? What's horrible about the platform? And they all named like usability, joy of use, like how much fun it is to work in the product as a like differentiating factor of our product. And this is what enabled that. Yeah. So if there's one thing you can take away from this talk, one thing to remember from now on, it's always be connecting dots. The way easier way to say triangulate user research methods. And with that, thank you for the quality of your attention. And I'm curious on your questions or feedback. To do that, please scan the QR code. And there's like 1 or 2 trigger questions on. And it would be great if you could really quickly fill them. I love that as a way to start a Q&A, because it democratizes the whole thing. Like also the silent people can ask questions. I think it's a nice way to get started. Also, this brings you to my LinkedIn profile where you can connect if you want, if there are any other questions. Okay, going there.
So yeah, you truly practice what you preach with the question. So are you just waiting a couple of minutes for input? Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, take your time. Give him.
There's general interest in which tools did we use for the case study. Very easy answer. I didn't drop the names in the presentation because I'm not doing advertising for like other products, but if people are interested, it's FullStory for digital experience insights. FullStory is one of my favorite tools besides Figma. Basically, it allows all the session recording stuff, and it takes all the tracking hassle away from the developers and to us as the product people. So like literally a monkey could implement it. So doesn't mean that we're not intelligent, we just can't handle code, complex one at least. So that's great. And then there is Survey Hero, for like, which is in German Umfrage Online, but the international name is Survey Hero for all the survey things, and it has like a really nice way of instantly evaluating and cross-evaluating features, has a good price tag as well. And then there is Airtable for doing the triangulation magic. So really like combining different data sources and doing all the fun stuff with it. It's basically like Excel on steroids. So the way more fun tool. What else? Yeah, I think that was that are the core ones for like user for interviews and stuff. Maze, obviously, but yeah, I think that's the tools. Convincing stakeholders, clients, or your boss about the value of research. I have a principle: land and expand. I show them, so they tell me research. I feel we do. I show them a little bit of a glimpse. I have an understanding. This is strategically important. Something that really not necessarily the organization cares about, but something they care about. And then they love research for more. Again. Cool. Something else. Text answers. How do you get the users to participate? We have incentives on one side. Incentive is always like shape the future of the platform you work in. Second incentive is, depending on the user group, a different amount of Amazon voucher. We invest about, we always raffle like 3 vouchers per survey. We spend about I think 400 euros a year for that. Way cheaper than recruiting agencies. Works well for our user group, but everyone needs to try that out for them. GDPR, experimentation, behavioral analytics. So there is, we have the cookie consent and everything is on there. We have the privacy policy and all of these things that our lawyers take care of. So I took myself out of that. So these are the dominant question in there. Is there anything else? We're also already a bit over time, so can also
I was the last one, and experimentation was different than the GDPR. So it was basically, do you also do something with actual experimentation? You said, well, you sometimes launch things to a couple of users, then use the session analytics. Do you also do that on a larger quantitative scale?
Yeah, it depends what you see under large. Yeah? So we have this large end customer user group, but our product is embedded via iframe on the website of our clients. So they do experimentation in our product, and then they use usually third-party other things to do that, and we can learn from these things. So then our clients tell us, hey, we found this out in experimenting with your product. But we don't do that yet ourselves. For the smaller things, it's really just build stuff, release, look what happens. Look what happens. It can be really something like a developer does in 2 hours, or we come up with an idea after lunch and a coffee. A dev just builds it in 2 hours. We release it to 2 customers we don't really care about, and watch the session. If they directly use it and understand it, great. If they don't, bad luck. What really helps with that is a thing called it's this tool where you can position tooltips directly inside the application, and it's also a SaaS tool. We use this to help new users understand features which are not very developed yet. So you can have you can build a super simple onboarding flow with a few clicks. So we do that with these fast small experiments, but we don't really have enough users in the core product for A/B testing and stuff like that. Also, convince me if you have an idea how to do A/B testing well with 2,000 users. I would die for that information.
So you said to test new features that you sometimes launch it randomly to certain customers. Do you pick them randomly, or is there a process involved in which customers you choose?
Again, behavioral analytics. So this is again this full story thing that comes into play. So we look at which user problems does this solve. Then we think about which criteria can we track that where this user problem would occur. So and we have a segment of users and then we can we sync full story with our user API, and that way we can then query by organization name and just like provide it to these on these tenants.
Thanks for showing how you should do research. So thanks a lot for that. And we hope we were really glad to have someone from outside Belgium joining you. We hope you had a great time in Antwerp as well. Thank you for everything. So please give him a warm round of applause. So this wraps up our October edition of UX Beers, but the conversation doesn't need to end. The bar is still a bit open. There are still some amazing dishes from Greg left, so we hope you still stay. And in any case, we will be back next month, where we will be hosting with November 5 on November 26. We couldn't do it on the 5th, so voila. But thanks for coming and hope to see you soon again. Thanks. We hope you enjoyed it.
Absolutely. I was very curious about this.